How do you understand that a relationship has run its course and it's time to put a definitive end to it? Imagine you've ended up in a barrel of shit. You're floundering in this sludge and inhaling the stench. You stick your head out and ask for help, but from the outside they tell you, you know, there are 5, 10, even 146 signs that you're in deep shit. The main thing here is to determine where you feel the most discomfort. What bothers you more, the smell or the physical sensation? Or maybe you should look into your childhood traumas, find something a bit more solid deep down in the filth, so you can lean on it, stand up, breathe a little, and then dive back in. Come on, hold your breath and try to find a compromise. Then the author suggests evaluating the overall firmness of the mass. That is, if the stool is solid, that means it's closer to a normal relationship. Then he advises measuring the temperature of the stool and so on, and all this instead of just jumping out of the barrel of shit and going to take a shower to wash it off. And then people in the comments swap opinions on exactly how their barrels differ in smell and consistency. Each commenter thinks their barrel of filth is unique. They talk about how there's water and rocks in there, which means it's not entirely shit, since there are flecks of value and soulfulness. And the most experienced divers explain how to jump from one barrel to another. It's considered such a virtuoso trick. Instead of making the decision to break up, people complain about the stench and the scandals. They scream about how bad everything is, but they stay inside the barrel of poop. Humanly speaking, this indecision is understandable. It's just that a breakup is always stressful. All your plans were tied to the woman, and after the split, you have to build a new picture of your life. It's like delaying the start of a major full apartment renovation. Yeah, it's not ideal right now, but it's familiar. But if you completely renovate the place, that's at least 6 months of work, bare walls, acrid dust clogging your nose. Therefore, we often cover a hole in the wallpaper with a postcard, and it seems like everything is fine. It's easier for us to resign ourselves to familiar discomfort because we fear the unknown. What if things don't get better in the future? On the other hand, we often overly dramatize things. We indulge in settling into a state of idealization, even towards old sweatpants with stretched out knees. After all, they used to fit like a glove. Or take another example. Let's say we bought a new car and traded the old one in. We should be happy, but our hearts ache when we look one last time at that clunker that managed to become so dear to us, and on the way home, in traffic, we still pick out models we have a history with, recalling their pros and cons with equal warmth. It would seem silly, it's just a piece of stamped metal, but we stubbornly cling to the impressions tied to that old ride. Actually, it's about the same with women. We justify our weakness with emotions already passed and lived through, which is why we look for signs that things can still continue. I've seen people who clung to everything old. They wear familiar old pants until they have holes, and wear shoes down to the state of an artifact from a lost civilization. For such men, a woman who causes discomfort is just as sweet as a crooked car that becomes dearer the more often you repair it. Therefore, the inevitable sale of the old car or the probability of breaking up with the woman brings a tear to their eye. The logic goes something like this. Even if she was always making a face, making demands, calling me a loser, and bossing me around, at least there was always a cold meat patty with pasta in the pan in the morning. It turns out to be a vicious circle. While they are together, he complains about life, but as soon as she leaves, he wets his pants and remembers the meat patties. In reality, I identify just one sign that it's time to end things with a woman. That sign is the emotional instability of your relationship. Between a man and a woman, there exists the so-called pendulum principle. The pendulum starts swinging from minimal pushes. These are micro-conflicts that are quickly resolved. The danger of these little quarrels is that a man might even get pleasure from them. Instability arises in the couple, tiny for now, emotional intensity shoots up, and a juicy reconciliation leaves a pleasant aftertaste. In the moment, a micro-conflict doesn't threaten the relationship. It might just cause mild anxiety that quickly fades, because the man is lulled by the woman's professions of love and the joy that she came running to make up with him. But there are 4 main laws of the pendulum. First, if it has started moving, the amplitude will only increase. There will be more conflicts, more emotions, more complaints, and so on until you break up. Second, the pendulum will never stop by itself. Never. Only you can do that. Third, If you've started swinging along with this pendulum, you lose the ability to predict the woman, you don't control the situation. Fourth, the more emotionally involved you are in these situations of swinging the pendulum, the faster it begins to move. Remember your previous relationships when it seemed like aggression or conflict could be smoothed over, lubricated with a vivid makeup session, and compensation would occur. There she came, made up, and compensation happened. It's an illusion. When we get nostalgic about our old car, we forget about the unsuccessful attempts to fix the already rotted body, welded the underbody, and the rocker panels rot right away, welded the rockers, the metal rots in another place. It's the same in relationships. The more quarrels and conflicts, the more often they will happen. The time until the breakup depends only on how harsh and rough the topics raised in the conflicts are. Do you know why? Every conflict with a woman is the rotting of your personal boundaries. It's a small patch of rust on clean metal. In the moment when you make up with her, or she with you pay with your self-respect, and she starts seeing less and less of a man in you. This doesn't happen instantly. It's a process stretched out over time, like corrosion inside a car body, which is why you don't notice it. You think, well, I'll deal with the consequences later. But when everything has already come to the surface, it becomes too late to do anything. You've seen an old tub on the road, patched up with putty, as if the car were made of clay. That's exactly how relationships look to me where the pendulum has been swinging for years. Those who have made it to this point, patches in one place, wrapped with blue electrical tape in another, fluids leaking, and the exhaust is black from burnt oil. There is an opinion that it is impossible to build a relationship without quarrels and conflicts. That's bullshit, because conflict and misunderstanding are different things. It's one thing when someone accidentally steps on your foot and apologizes. It's another if I walk up to you on the street and flick your forehead and then say, "Sorry." I'll name another reason why I did it. Feel the difference? And what if I repeat it? Flick your forehead again, sorry again, hit you again, and sorry again. That's exactly what happens in relationships. A woman's apologies do not solve the problem. We are interested in the result, and the result is a quality relationship, not tears under the door. I assume there will be a comment under this video. Max, but people are different in real life. They fight. You're crossing the line here. Buddy, in that case, you can write your address, and I'll gather everyone who wants to give you a forehead flick. And you will treat this event philosophically, find deep meaning in it, savor it, read horoscopes for that day, go to a psychologist with this complex problem, and ultimately call it the norm. You don't want to perceive reality as it actually is, do you? But seriously, every conflict, even if it ends with the woman's apologies, lowers your value to her. Only neither of you knows it yet. At first the pendulum will swing in one range, then more. That's why it's always like this. I hope each of you has enough life experience to understand that relationships with a launched pendulum are always doomed. There is only a tiny percentage of exceptions. For example, the woman is financially dependent on the man, she has no worthy alternative, plus her age does not favor a quick change of partner. But despite this, the probability of an exit still actually exists. Nevertheless, here are a few practical tips on how to stop the pendulum. First, act in a timely manner and proportionate to the situation. Inside a relationship, it is possible to stop the swing only at the very beginning. In neglected cases, it's only ignoring or only distancing. Second tip, always log negative events. Never ignore your personal discomfort. But at the same time, don't throw a fit. Never throw a fit. He who is not ready to act throws fits. Third tip, analyze. Take a pause for yourself. Stop. Reflect in the moment. Yes, everything depends, understandably, on your specific case. Here, for example, I want to give an example. Let's say a girl said, "I don't get enough attention." Seems like typical manipulation. But once a guy reached out to me, he hadn't called the girl for 8 months, didn't write, stubbornly tried not to demonstrate his interest while being in a relationship with her. In his situation, there was nothing overly provocative in the girl's words, but the guy was suppressing himself for some reason, thinking that was necessary. I recommended that he slowly, not immediately, increase the initiative to a volume comfortable for him, but tell the girl that he is currently busy with important things and, perhaps, in a month or two, will be freer. Here the guy was just being too cautious and couldn't correctly assess the balance of significance because he was afraid of failing. That's one story. but a more common situation would be a case where a problematic woman is just being capricious. That is, she doesn't invest herself, but demands from you, starting to swing that very pendulum. Then our reaction, of course, will be different. You can say, listen, if you think that it's not good enough for you or it's bad, well then really, maybe we're not a couple. And no need to prove anything. The one who proves is the one not confident in his own righteousness and needs the interlocutor's agreement, and then act based on her reaction. A man who feels obvious discomfort in a relationship tries to assess how expedient it is to end it. In reality, he is choosing how much crap he is willing to eat, and then he justifies what is happening by the principle. The main thing is she didn't leave for another guy, or she hasn't been with another guy yet. Now if she pours slops into your tea, will you be worried about calculating the concentration of this filth in the cup? Well, if she added a little, I'll tolerate it, down it in one go. But if it's a lot, well then, I'll probably refuse. That's how it works. People who stuff you with advice to weigh everything and seek compromises are weak-willed, spineless liars. It benefits them. They are addicted to eating filth and feel uncomfortable because they smell a bit. They want to depend on toxic relationships, but without being considered wimps. So they deceive themselves, talk about internal changes, but make no decision. The truth always forces you to make a decision and act. Therefore, the path of truth is closed to such people. They will deceive you if you believe the garbage that is passed off as relationship advice. So leave them digging in the dumpster and just don't pay attention to it. When you start making decisions, the people around you are left to either follow you or call you an idiot and brush you off. So don't explain anything to anyone, just make a decision. In any case, this will be an excellent test. Who is your real friend and who is just a fellow traveler? I call this the envy test. A sincere person in your circle will start gravitating towards you when they see your successes, while an envious one will sling mud at you behind your back, or even personally start convincing you that you are a fool and your decision is idiocy. I find it useful to get at least some result, positive or negative. It doesn't matter. But don't sit on the fence picking your nose. Well, even if it turns out that you are suffering, make the decision to suffer. Make suffering your conscious choice so as not to be a victim of your own emotions. A complex situation requires making tough, complex decisions, and learned helplessness begins when circumstances control you and deprive you of your will. And the manifestation of will is the ability to decide on something and follow your decision. You can think for a while and even doubt, but eventually, you need to decide to act. It is better to make the decision to suffer after a breakup than not to make it at all and suffer simply because that's how it turned out. And your situation is much simpler because there are plenty of women. Let's act, and everything will be fine. Thank you all so much for watching.